will bear the brunt of my kung fu skill. If you think you can beat me, you're bananas.
So, when is Smash Ultimate coming out again? So you ever have that thing, whether it be a game, movie, book, TV series, where just looking at it you can tell it's probably going to be a disaster, but you still feel that urge to try it out and experience it for yourself? Well, this game was one of those for me. To give some brief history, I'm a fan of the Kung Fu Panda series. Not necessarily a huge fan, like I haven't watched the TV show or the straight-to-DVD short films, but I've seen all 3 movies and quite liked all of them. With Kung Fu Panda 2 actually being my favorite 3D DreamWorks film. Not my favorite DreamWorks film overall though, because they also happen to make my favorite movie of all time. Though despite being a highly successful film series with a huge focus on fast-paced action scenes, there surprisingly hasn't been many Kung Fu Panda video games. Beyond tie-in games released for the first 2 movies, there's only been 2 other Kung Fu Panda games made for consoles. The first of these was Kung Fu Panda Legendary Warriors for the Wii and DS, which I actually played back when it came out in 2008. And pretty much the only thing that stuck with me about it was that Tai Lung was back as the main villain. And it was never explained how he survived his death, despite it being acknowledged in-game.
Tai Lung? But I thought Po...
Yes, but what I'm after, only you and the rest of the 5 can do.
Also, it used the whole villain stealing the chi of other warriors plot 8 years before Kung Fu Panda 3 did, so there's your fun fact of the day. But the second of these Kung Fu Panda games is what we're here to talk about today. Kung Fu Panda Showdown of Legendary Legends, a Super Smash Bros. Style fighting game released on just about every current-gen and last-gen platform in December of 2015, only a month before Kung Fu Panda 3's release in theaters. I came across a demo of this game on the PlayStation 4 not too long ago, and because I was suffering a Smash Bros. Itch in serious need of a scratching thanks to the Smash Ultimate hype train, I decided to give it a try. And the following day, I caved in and bought it. Didn't cost me too much, fortunately. It's not even $15 currently on the PlayStation Store, but we're about to go over if even that much was worth it. Though I probably should have gotten it while it was the free game on PlayStation Plus now that I think about it. Man, what I would do for some time travel powers. The game's story is as follows. Po wants to host a Kung Fu tournament, and Shifu in response hosts a Kung Fu tournament. That's it, that's the story. I get that they wanted to give some sort of context for why everyone's beating each other up, but honestly, I think I would have preferred no attempt over a half-hearted attempt. Though, funny enough, this overly simplistic plot somehow actually has plot holes, given the roster contains characters who are canonically dead, and yes, I am actually analyzing the plot of a Kung Fu Panda Smash Bros. Game. I haven't been all there since Dissidia NT, cut me some slack. So as I've noted already, Showdown of Legendary Legends is a fighting game that plays in the style of Super Smash Bros. Up to 4 fighters beat each other up on various stages with the goal of knocking the opponent off the screen. Oh, who am I kidding? You all probably know how Smash works by now. Now, I'm not going to discredit this game for being a Smash Bros. Style game, because given Smash's popularity, there was bound to be games from other companies that play very similarly to it. That's just how the gaming industry works. The thing is, most quote-unquote Smash Bros. Clones, or at least the good ones, tend to make changes to the gameplay to provide at least a somewhat unique experience. To name a few examples, there's Brawlhalla, which takes inspiration from League of Legends with its weekly free character rotation structure, while also including a unique weapon system. There's Indie Pogo, which includes an auto-jumping mechanic, which turns the game into one about aerial combos, juggling opponents, and quick maneuvering, and it also goes with a health system instead of a damage counter system. By the way, I highly recommend playing Indie Pogo, it's very fun. There's also Rivals of Aether, which removes elements like shielding and ledge grabbing, while putting an emphasis on mechanics you'd see used in high-level Smash Bros. Melee play, making it a more aggressive game about outsmarting your opponent. Heck, even PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, as lackluster as it was, does something different by only being able to KO opponents with supers. So why do I bring up all these examples, you ask? Well, that would be because while all these games change themselves up to be at least somewhat different from Smash Bros., Showdown of Legendary Legends really doesn't try to be different. The movement, the attack inputs, the mechanics, just about everything is exactly how it is in Smash Bros. Heck, it even reuses specific attacks from characters in Smash Bros. I mean, yeah, you're bound to see similar ideas between 2 games, you can't be 100% original and all that, but like, Shifu's normal special is literally just Shulk's Monado Arts ability. That's oddly specific. Now, this isn't to say there aren't any differences, but the ones that are here are few and far between, and also rather small in the grand scheme of things. First off, instead of the damage counter starting at 0% and going up as you get hit, like in Smash Bros., in this game it starts at 100% and goes down until it reaches 0%. Going into this game, I thought that meant the game was going to run off a health system instead of a damage counter system, which would indeed provide even just some uniqueness to it. Instead, it represents, as the game puts it, knockback resistance. The lower the number, the easier it is to get knocked off the stage. If you ask me, that's kind of unfortunate. Before Smash Ultimate, Smash Bros. Didn't have a health system option for regular battles, so that could have been an interesting idea for this game to incorporate. Speaking of features that are going to be implemented in Smash Ultimate, Showdown of Legendary Legends has Final Smash's, awesome attacks that are usable through a super meter that builds as damage is dealt, as opposed to Smash Balls. However, they're far from the spectacle that a lot of fighting games have with their super attacks. And while some still do get the job done in regards to damage, some are just... well, at least he tried his best. That said, the last of the notable differences made is the inclusion of a mechanic that I actually thought was rather interesting. It's called the Flash Dodge, and it's an ability that allows you to do a quick dash in any direction, but it also can be used as an emergency escape if you're stuck in an attack. And to keep it from being broken, you're only given 3 Flash Dodges at a time, with each usage taking a fair amount of time to recharge. I'll admit, I think this is a really neat feature. And yeah, it's implemented pretty well into this game. Good on you, devs. Though that's one of the few elements of the gameplay that I feel comfortable praising, because while most of its gameplay is copied straight from Smash Bros., it doesn't do a super great job at copying it. Short and simple, the gameplay is lacking polish, and much of that comes down to the controls. Movement feels rather awkward, especially since you've really only got 2 movement speeds, walking and running, and with really nothing in between. Though, given the running speed, it's actually more like jogging. Plus, the jumping feels rather stiff, and also looks incredibly dumb when doing multiple jumps as any of the bird characters, and even when your opponent gets knocked far back, it often doesn't feel like there's much impact to any of your attacks, even with charged normal attacks. Also, sometimes attacks just don't do damage at all. Like, the attack definitely hit the opponent, and there weren't any invincibility frames or a shield, but it just didn't do a thing. Man, who needs hit detection? And this is all without mentioning the AI, a name I very much don't think is accurate to use here because intelligence is not something they use very often. From not pursuing the opponent, to willingly jumping off the edge, to just idly standing there, the AI definitely could have used a lot of work. I played through tournament mode on both the easiest and hardest difficulties, and frankly, you could have told me the AI were set to the same difficulty. There was pretty much no difference in how they acted. Then again, tournament mode's got its own problems. Thanks to the lackluster AI, matches are really boring. And adding on to that, there's literally no incentive to play the mode in the first place. You don't unlock anything from it because everything's unlocked from the get-go, and like I said, the only story you have in the whole game is that one cutscene. So it's not even like there's character-specific endings waiting for you when you finish. In fact, there's no endings waiting for you when you finish. You get a lackluster results screen and then you're booted back to the character select. But hey, the results screen had fireworks. That makes up for it, right? Actually, on that note, I want to take this moment to talk about the playable characters. The game has a roster of 20 characters to choose from for battle. Many of them are logical choices, like Po, Shifu, the Furious 5 members, Tai Lung, Lord Shen, Ox and Croc, Oogway, just to name a few. But there's also some rather bizarre choices in this roster, such as Mr. Ping, the Soothsayer, Unnamed Gorilla Soldier, Baby Po, I'm not making this up, and Master Boar. Who is Master Boar, you ask? Well, he's this guy from the second movie. The game also includes 2 characters from Kung Fu Panda 3 in its roster, but instead of going with major characters like Po's father Li Shan or Kai, you know, the film's villain, they instead picked minor character Mei Mei and very minor character Master Bear. You'd think they'd include the 2 most important new characters in your upcoming movie to help promote it, but I guess not? I don't know, I don't understand the logic behind that choice. So yeah, this game's also got DLC, a few stages, a handful of costumes, but most notably, 8 characters to add to the roster. Aside from Li Shan and Kai, there's also Master Chicken, Master Porcupine, alternate versions of Po, Mr. Ping, and Li Shan, and Bao. You know, Bao, the most memorable Kung Fu Panda character. Wait, who is Bao again? Now don't get me wrong, there's nothing inherently wrong with how this game handles DLC. All of it's relatively cheap, and Li Shan and Master Chicken are actually free downloads. Not to mention, as far as I'm aware, they don't seem to be on this DLC. But like, why though? Also, here's a little fun fact. The DLC option on the main menu actually doesn't work for some reason. Whoops. That said, despite how hard I may have come off with some of my comments about the game, it really isn't that terrible. It's just okay overall. And there are a few other elements I actually think it does pretty well. For one, while not absolutely amazing, the graphics look pretty good. And it's definitely the closest a Kung Fu Panda game has gotten to actually looking like the movies. Granted, it's still got a bit more to go, but yeah, it's something. As for the music though, it's not too notable. Instead of using original pieces or remixes fitting a fighting game, they just reused the soundtrack from the movies. Which isn't to say they aren't fantastic pieces of music, they were composed by the legendary Hans Zimmer after all, but they definitely work better in the context of the movie scenes they were made for than they do in this game. Though if there's one thing I've got to give surprising amount of credit to, it's the online. Yep, this game does actually have online, and given the only offline modes are versus, tournament mode, tutorial, and practice, it wouldn't be a shocker if they intend on online play to be where people dedicate their time to, especially since they include a ranked match option for some reason. I don't think competitive Showdown of Legendary Legends was ever gonna happen. That said, if there actually is a competitive Showdown of Legendary Legends community, I wasn't ready to dive into it, so I just started doing private matches with my friend and fellow YouTuber SoopLexi, who I will nonchalantly plug in the description because his stuff is very entertaining and you all should watch it. And despite being on opposite ends of the world, for most of our matches, it genuinely felt like we were playing in the same room. I don't have the best internet for online gaming, but like, connection issues were almost non-existent when we played. It was genuinely really impressive. Though on the flip side, the game closed your private lobby the second the match is done for some reason. Okay, I guess. In all honesty, even with how unoriginal it can be with its ideas and how it's rather unpolished in many ways, Showdown of Legendary Legends can admittedly be kind of fun if you're playing with the right people. Like, I'm definitely not going to say it's worth picking up over Smash Bros. Or even over other Smash Bros. Style games, especially if you're just going to do single player because the game can feel rather dull on your own. But if you got a friend who's willing to play it with you, there is some actual fun to be had. And if I can be honest, despite being technically less polished, I actually had more fun playing this than I did with City NT. I know what I said, and I don't intend on taking it back. Now if you excuse me, I'm gonna go back to impatiently waiting for Smash Ultimate to come out. This has been Black Mage Maverick, and until the next video, have a nice day everybody!